Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling one of the biggest scientific quests in human history. Literally trying to build a star on Earth. We're talking about the race for nuclear fusion. Let's get right into it. Okay, I want to start with a number that just sounds made up. 150 million degrees Celsius. It's a temperature so hot it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. To give you some perspective, the core of our actual sun is only, and I say only, 15 million degrees. And yet this insane temperature has now been achieved right here on Earth. This isn't just a small step, it's a massive leap forward in a quest that's been going on for decades. So why on earth are we trying to do this? Why build a star in a box? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Our world is hungry for power. And with energy-guzzling tech like AI on the rise, that hunger is only going to get bigger. We need something new, something clean, and something limitless. But before we get to the really exciting part, the breakthrough that changed everything, we've got to cover the basics. What exactly is nuclear fusion?
It's literally the power source of the entire universe. It's what's happening in the sun right now. You take two light atoms, you smash them together under intense heat and pressure, and boom, you get a heavier atom and a massive release of clean energy. And the fuel? It's basically seawater. Incredibly abundant.
Now this is super important. Don't get fusion confused with fission. Fission is what our current nuclear power plants do. Think of it like shattering a big, heavy, unstable atom. It works, but it creates all this dangerous, long-lived radioactive waste. Fusion is the complete opposite. It's taking light, common elements and fusing them together. It's fundamentally safer, way more powerful, and much, much cleaner. For decades, nuclear fusion was kind of a running joke in the science world. It was always just 30 years away. But that whole narrative, that whole joke, it completely fell apart recently.
The big moment came in late 2022. After 60 years of trying, scientists at the National Ignition Facility in California, they finally did it. They crossed the finish line.
And what they did has a name: ignition. This was the Holy Grail. For the very first time in history, they got more energy out of a fusion reaction than they had to put in to get it started. This was the proof. This showed the world that fusion power wasn't just a fantasy anymore. It was real. And achieving ignition was like firing a starting gun. What had been this slow, government-funded marathon suddenly turned into a flat-out sprint, fueled by billions in private investment. The entire game changed overnight. So with the science finally proven, a new gold rush is on. We're now watching a super high-stakes race to build the world's first commercial fusion reactor, with over $9.8 billion in private cash already on the table. So let's meet a couple of the frontrunners. Okay, first up, let's talk about Helion Energy. These guys are based up near Seattle, and they've been pretty secretive, but man, are they making some serious noise. Yeah, they're backed by some huge names in tech, like OpenAI's Sam Altman. And they dropped an absolute bombshell in 2023, a deal to supply Microsoft with fusion power by 2028. That is an insanely ambitious timeline, and trust me, everyone is watching to see if they can pull it off. But hey, this is a race, right? And Helion is definitely not alone on the track. Another major player is TAU Technologies, and they're taking a totally different road to get to that same finish line. And this is what makes it so fascinating. There isn't just one way to build a star in a jar. You've got TAE, backed by Google and Chevron, and they're using a special kind of fuel that produces zero radioactive byproducts. None. Then you've got Helion's approach, which could allow them to capture electricity directly from the reaction, making it incredibly efficient. This isn't just a race. It's a full-on competition of ideas. Okay, so this all sounds incredible, right? Almost like science fiction. But it all boils down to two very real, very practical questions for you and me. All right, let's just cut right to it. When will this stuff actually be powering our homes, our cars, our lives? So you've got the super aggressive players like Helion shooting for 2028. But the general consensus across the entire industry is that we'll see the first commercial fusion plants plugging into the grid sometime in the early to mid-2030s. We are talking about just over a decade from now.
And with all this momentum and billions of dollars pouring in, the next question is pretty obvious, right? Can I get in on this? Can I invest?
The short answer for now is no, not directly. You can't just go buy stock in Helion or TAE. They're all still private companies.
But, and this is a big but, you can invest indirectly. You can buy stock in massive public companies like Google or Microsoft or Chevron that have already poured big money into these fusion startups. It's a way to get some exposure to this revolution without putting all your eggs in one very experimental basket.
So let's bring it all home. After 60 years of being the butt of that always 30 years away joke, is this time actually different? Well, we have scientific proof. We have billions in private funding, and we have a high-stakes commercial race with real deadlines. It really seems like the question is no longer if fusion energy is going to happen, but who gets there first, and just how soon it will start to power our world.